the night descends quietly. On this channel, a native Japanese creator, based in Japan, brings you the stories of this country's history and traditions, each one carefully chosen and historically faithful, in the quiet of the night. With love from Japan. Tonight, I want to tell you about a single Japanese word, Mujo. It is often translated as impermanence. It means the truth that nothing stays, that the river has already moved past your feet by the time you notice it, that the moon tonight will not be the moon tomorrow, that you yourself, lying there as you listen, are not the same person who began this sentence. And here is what surprises so many people who hear it for the first time. In Japan, this was never a sad idea. It was, I think, the most beautiful idea this country ever arrived at. Much of the world learned to fear change, to grieve it as loss. But the people who came before me looked at the very same fact, that nothing lasts, and they learned to love it. They built a whole civilization of feeling on top of it. Their poetry, their tea, their gardens, their seasons. All of it grew from one understanding, that things are precious because they pass, and not in spite of it. So if there is any weight on you tonight, anything that feels as though it is slipping away, I hope that by the end you will feel it turn, very gently, into something softer. Not a thing to clutch with closed hands, but a thing to watch the way you would watch snow, falling past a lamp. If this is a place you would like to return to, you are warmly welcome to subscribe and drift off to Japan with me each night. And if something here stays with you, I would love to read about it in the comments. And now let us begin. Let me start with the word itself, because the word carries a long road behind it. Mujo, written with 2 characters. The first means not, or without. The second means constant, lasting, unchanging. So the word taken plainly says only this: without permanence, without a fixed state, nothing that holds still. It is a quiet word for an enormous idea, and the idea came to Japan a very long time ago, carried along the same routes that brought so much else. Across the sea, through the mountains of the mainland, gathered up and softened and made Japanese over the slow centuries. At its root, Mujo belongs to the teachings of the Buddha. It is counted among the most basic truths those teachings hold. The recognition that everything which comes together will, in time, come apart. A flame, a wave, a breath, a life. All of it arising, all of it passing, none of it pausing for us. If that sounds abstract, let me make it small and near. Think of the steam rising off a cup of something warm on a cold morning. How it lifts and curls and thins and is gone before you have finished looking at it. Think of the first light of dawn reaching across a paper screen. That particular grey gold that lasts only a few minutes and never returns in quite the same shade. Mujo is not a far-off doctrine. It is the steam off the cup. It is the light on the screen. It is the most ordinary thing in the world, happening everywhere, all the time, in front of eyes that have mostly stopped seeing it. In the old texts, the teaching is sometimes put into 4 short lines, a verse that has been recited for more than 1,000 years. The first lines say, simply, that all things are impermanent, that this is the very nature of arising and passing away. It is said, the verse was spoken near the end of the Buddha's life, beneath a stand of trees, as a kind of final settling of the heart. Historians cannot be certain of every detail of that scene, as is the way with things so old. There are several accounts, but the lines themselves survived, the way a melody survives even when the singer is long gone. I want you to notice something, though, before we go further. When this idea reached these islands, it did not stay locked away in temples and scrolls. It did not remain the property of monks alone. It seeped outward, the way water seeps into cloth, until it had soaked into the ordinary imagination of ordinary people. Farmers felt it in the turning of the rice year. Poets felt it in the cooling of an evening. Mothers felt it watching a child outgrow a small pair of sandals. Mujo stopped being a doctrine and became instead a way of seeing, a way of standing in the world with open hands. And that, I think, is where the genius of it lies. Picture for a moment a country shaped the way mine is shaped. A long, narrow chain of islands, leaning along the edge of a great sea. Mountains down the spine of it, the sea always close on either side. And because of where it sits upon the turning earth, it receives the full wheel of the seasons. Not two seasons, not a wet time and a dry time, but a complete and unhurried round of four, each one arriving in its turn and giving way in its turn, year upon year upon year. This matters more than it might seem. When you live in a place where the world changes that visibly, that reliably, that beautifully change stops being a stranger. It becomes a companion. You come to expect it. You come to wait for it. The cold that grips the land in the deep of winter is not a permanent enemy, because you have learned in your bones that warmth is already on its way and will arrive without your asking. The green heaviness of high summer is not forever either, because you have felt, every year of your life, how the air thins and sharpens as autumn leans in. The people of these islands watched this happen so many times across so many generations that they began to keep a finer and finer record of it. They were not satisfied with 4 seasons. 4 felt clumsy, too broad to hold the truth of how the year actually moves. So they divided the year again into smaller turnings. And then, not content even with that, they divided it again into smaller turnings still. Short spans of just a few days each one named for some small, particular thing the world was doing right at that moment. The first thin ice forming on the still water, the cold wind beginning to scatter the leaves from the branches, the narcissus opening in the chill, the east wind softening the frozen ground. There were names for all of these. Short, plain, exact phrases, marking the year, not in great blocks, but in delicate increments, the way you might mark a friend's slow change of mood across an afternoon. Think about what that reveals. To name the year that finally you must be paying attention. Close, patient, loving attention. You must have decided that the brief life of a single frost, the few short days when one particular flower opens, is worth noticing, worth marking, worth holding in language. And you can only decide that something is worth noticing so tenderly if you have first accepted, deep down, that it will not last. Nobody bothers to treasure the things they believe will stay forever. We treasure what passes. The whole calendar of this country is, in a sense, a long love letter written to impermanence, a way of saying again and again, across the turning year, I see you. I know you are leaving. I am glad you came. And yet I will not pretend to you that change is only ever gentle. Of course it can hurt. Of course there is loss woven into it. To say that nothing lasts is also to say that the warm afternoon will end, that the people we love will not always be beside us. that we ourselves are passing through. None of that is small, and Mujo does not pretend it is small. So how did the people of these islands look straight at that? At the plain fact that everything they loved would leave and come away not broken by it, but somehow gentled. Here is the turn they made. The turn I hope you can feel softening in your own chest tonight. If nothing lasted, and that were only a tragedy, then the right response would be despair, or else a frantic grasping, a clutching at every moment to keep it from slipping. And you can live that way. Many people do. It is exhausting. It is a closed fist around water, and the water leaves anyway, and your hand only aches. The other response, the one woven through so much of what is most beautiful in Japanese culture, is to open the hand instead, to let the moment be exactly what it is. Brief, whole, and yours for as long as it lasts, which is now. Not to mourn the falling of the snow, but to stand at the window and watch it fall, knowing it will not fall like this again, and finding in that very knowledge the reason it is so unbearably lovely. A flower that bloomed forever would in time become wallpaper. We would stop seeing it. It is the fact that it will fade that makes us lean in close while it is here. A friend who could never leave would, in some quiet way, stop being a gift, because we would take their presence the way we take the air. It is the knowledge of partings someday, not yet, that makes the evening together worth slowing down for. So, Mujo, fully understood, is not a teaching of loss. It is a teaching of value. It says, because this will not last, it matters now. Because you cannot keep it, you are free to fully receive it. The passing is not the enemy of the beauty. The passing is the beauty. They are the same thing, seen from two sides. And once you understand that, you begin to see it everywhere in the life of this country. Not preached, but practiced, lived, built quietly into the ordinary shapes of the day. You see it in a garden, raked at dawn, that everyone knows the evening wind will disturb, and that is raked again the next dawn, without complaint, as a kind of devotion to the present rather than the permanent. You see it in a meal arranged to suit the exact week of the year it is served in, a single leaf laid beside the dish, not because the leaf is needed, but because it is that leaf's brief week, and to ignore that would be to miss the whole point of being alive on this particular evening, and no other. You see it in the long love of the moon, not the full moon only, held up as a fixed ideal, but the moon in all its phases, waxing and waning, the slender new crescent, and the moon half hidden behind a drift of cloud. Each shape loved precisely because it is the shape of tonight and will be gone by the turning of the month. You see it most of all in a small room with a kettle and a bowl of tea, and that is where I want to take you next. Because there is a single phrase, born in that small room, that gathers everything I've been trying to say into 4 short syllables. It is perhaps the most beautiful thing this idea ever became, and it begins, fittingly, with the number 1. For now, though, let the first part of the night settle over you. Let the words stay with you as you breathe. Mujo. Nothing stays. And isn't it strange, and isn't it gentle, to feel how that truth, which might have frightened you once, can begin instead to feel almost like being held? Nothing stays. The hard things, too, are passing. This very tiredness in your body is passing. You are allowed to set down the work of holding on. Rest here a moment, in the turning of it. And when you're ready, come with me into the small room where the tea is being made and where a host is waiting who has understood, better than almost anyone, what it means that we will only meet like this once. Ichi-go, ichi-e. One time, one meeting. It is the idea that this gathering, this exact gathering, with these exact people, in this exact light, will never come again. Not once in the whole turning life of the world. 4 syllables, almost nothing, light as a breath. And inside them is folded the entire teaching of the first part of our story, pressed down into something you could carry in a closed hand. Let it sit in the air a moment, because it deserves that. Ichi-go, ichi-e. Even if the very same people sit down together 100 more times, not one of those 100 times will be this time. The season will have shifted. The hearts in the room will have moved, however slightly. The world will be one breath further along its road. And so this meeting, the one happening now, is a thing that has never existed before and will never exist again. And it is happening, and you are inside it. That is ichi-go, ichi-e. And it was born, fittingly, in the quietest room in Japan. To understand where it came from, I want to take you into the world of tea, though I should say at once that the word tea can mislead. What I am speaking of is not a drink hurried down between tasks. It is something closer to a whole way of being, gathered around the simple act of preparing a bowl of tea for a guest with complete attention. It has its own architecture, its own gestures, its own long silences, and at its heart, it has always been an art of the impermanent. A small theatre built specifically to make a single passing afternoon visible, and beautiful and unrepeatable. The figure most bound up with the shaping of this world lived in the 16th century. A tea master, whose name has come down to us as the great refiner of the whole tradition, the one who stripped it back toward simplicity, toward smallness, toward the plain and the unforced. He did not, as far as we know, leave behind his own books. But those who studied under him remembered his words, and one of them wrote down something his teacher had taught, that a guest entering the tea room, from the moment of stepping into the moment of leaving, should hold the gathering in their heart as though it were a meeting that comes only once in a lifetime, and should honor the host accordingly. There it is. The seed of the phrase, set down more than 400 years ago by a student remembering a teacher. Not yet the polished 4-syllable jewel we know today. That final form came later, but the whole soul of it. Already complete. Treat this meeting as a once-in-a-lifetime meeting, because of course it is. Now, let me tell you why that idea found its perfect home in the tea room, of all places. Because once you see it, you will never quite see a quiet gathering the same way again. Imagine the room. It is small, deliberately, almost startlingly small. A space sized not for crowds, but for a handful of people, sometimes only 2. The proportions are humble. There is nothing in it to dazzle you. A kettle, breathing its low sound over the fire. A scroll on the wall, chosen for this day and no other. A single flower, placed with great care, leaning exactly as it leans. The light comes soft through paper. The world outside, its noise, its hurry, its endless demands is set down at the threshold like a pair of shoes. And for a little while it simply does not enter. And in that small, undazzling room, something quietly radical takes place. The host has prepared everything, every object chosen, every gesture rehearsed across years of practice, not to impress and not to last, but to offer one perfect afternoon to the people in front of them. The flower will wilt. The scroll will be rolled away. The ash in the hearth will be swept and reshaped before the next gathering. Nothing here is built to endure. Everything here is built to be fully present once. And the guests, if they understand, receive it the same way. They do not treat it as one tea gathering among the many they will attend. They treat it as the only one, because it is the only this one. They notice the particular flower. They notice the particular sound of the water. They notice, with a tenderness that ordinary days rarely allow, the faces of the people sharing the room, and the simple, staggering fact of being together, here now, in a world where nothing stays. Do you feel how ichi-go, ichi-e turns the impermanence of the first part of our story completely around? In the wider world, nothing lasts can sound like a sentence of loss. But inside that small room, nothing lasts becomes the very thing that makes the afternoon sacred. The host pours their whole heart into a gathering they know will dissolve, precisely because it will dissolve. The guests give their whole attention to a moment they know will not return, precisely because it will not return. The impermanence is not the shadow over the meeting. The impermanence is the light in it. The phrase traveled the way good phrases do. For a long time it lived mostly among those who practiced tea, a guiding spirit, passed teacher to student, felt more than spoken. Then, much later, in the closing era of the old Japan, a man who was both a powerful figure of his age and a serious devotee of tea took up the idea and set it down at the very opening of his own writing on the art. He wrote, in essence, that although host and guest may meet many times, today's gathering will never come again, that it is truly a once-in-a-lifetime meeting, and that therefore the host must attend to every smallest thing with complete sincerity, and the guest must receive it knowing such a meeting is hard to come by twice. And with that, he gave the idea its enduring four-syllable name, the form we still use today. Ichi-go, ichi-e. I find it moving that the phrase had to be written down twice, across 2 different centuries, by 2 different hands, before it reached us. The student remembering the master, and then, generations on, another man gathering it into its final shape, as though the idea itself were demonstrating its own teaching, passed from hand to hand, held for a while, let go, picked up again, a little changed, by someone new. Ichi-go, ichi-e, even in the story of its own making, was never standing still. And here is what I love most about this phrase, and why I wanted to bring it to you tonight, in the warm dark, when the day is finished and you are letting it go. You do not need a tea room to live by it. The tea masters built a small, perfect room to make a single truth visible. But the truth was never about the room. It was about the meeting. And meetings like that are happening all around you, all the time, mostly unnoticed. The ordinary dinner with someone you love, on a Tuesday, with the light doing what it was doing. That was a once-in-a-lifetime gathering, and most of us only realize it long afterward, if at all. The quiet hour you spend with a friend who has since moved far away. The morning a small child said something that made the whole kitchen laugh, in a voice that has already, even now, begun to change. None of those will come again. Every one of them was ichi-go, ichi. The teaching is not asking you to be sad about this. It is asking you to wake up to it, to let the knowledge that a moment will not return become the reason you give it your whole, soft, undivided heart while it is here. to look at the people across the table as though you are seeing them for the first time. Because in a sense you always are. They are not who they were yesterday, and neither are you. To pour your attention into the present hour, the way the host pours water over the tea. Carefully, completely, without holding any of it back for a tomorrow that will, in any case, be a different day entirely. That is the gift the small room was always trying to hand you, not a ritual, a way of meeting your own life. The understanding that because this will not last, this is worth everything. And that you are right now inside a meeting that will never come again. So let that settle into you as the second part of our story closes and the night grows deeper around you. Every meeting, once. Every evening, once. Even this one. You and my voice, and the quiet of wherever you are lying. Even this is its own ichi-go, ichi-e, a gathering that has never happened before in just this way and will not happen again. And rather than let that ache, let it loosen something in you. There's nothing more to do with this moment than to be inside it. No need to grasp it. No need to keep it. It is already yours. Completely. For exactly as long as it is here. Which is now, and only now. And that is enough. In the last part of our story, I will not ask you to think any more. I will only ask you to watch, the way you might watch snow, or the slow changing of the moon, as everything we have spoken of tonight turns at last into stillness, and the stillness turns into sleep. Stay with me. Let the room grow quiet. Come with me down toward rest. Let your breathing slow now. There's nothing left to understand. The thinking part of the night is over. From here, we only watch the world change, the way it has always changed, gently, without needing anything from us at all. Come with me in your mind to a window. It is late, and it is winter, and beyond the glass it has begun to snow. You do not have to imagine it sharply. Let it be soft, the way real things are soft when you are tired. There's a small light somewhere near the window, a lamp, low and warm, and in the pool of that light you can see the snow as it falls. Only there, in that one gentle circle of glow. Beyond it, the dark. But here, in the light, the snow. Watch how it comes down, not in a hurry. Each flake drifting, turning, finding its own slow way through the air. No two of them falling quite alike. They appear at the top of the light, out of the darkness above, and they cross the glow, unhurried, and they pass below the edge of the light and are gone. And more come and more. An endless quiet arriving and an endless quiet leaving, and none of it asking anything of you but to watch. This is Mujo. This is the whole of it, falling past a lamp. Every flake is here for only a moment in the light. Not one of them stays, and it is the most peaceful thing in the world. Let the snow keep falling, and let your shoulders soften. You are warm. That is the first thing. Wherever you are lying, let the warmth of it reach you. The weight of the cover over you. The give of whatever holds your head. Let your body grow heavy against it. There's nowhere you need to be. The day that asked so much of you is finished, and it too has fallen past the light and gone, the way the day before it fell, and the way tomorrow will. You do not have to hold any of it. Let it drift down past the edge and disappear. Outside the window, the snow gathers slowly on the branches. You can just see them at the edge of the light. Bare branches, dark against the dark. and the white settling along them, thickening so gradually that you could watch for a long while and never quite catch it changing. And yet it changes. By morning, the whole shape of the world out there will be different. Softened, rounded, made new by something that fell in the night while everyone slept. And then the sun will warm it, and it'll begin, just as gently, to go. And that is not a sadness. That is only the snow doing what snow does. Arriving, resting a while, moving on. Your breath is like that too. In and out. Arriving and leaving. Each one a small once. You do not have to manage it. It knows how. Just let it come and let it go. The way the snow comes and goes. The way the whole night is coming and going around you, carrying you softly along with it. Above the snow clouds, though you cannot see it now, the moon is there. Let me give it to you anyway, because it belongs to this night. The moon, the way this country has loved it for 1,000 years. Not fixed, not unchanging, but always becoming something else. Some nights, a thin, bright curve, like the edge of something. Some nights, round and full and pouring its pale light over everything. Some nights half, some nights hidden. Some nights only a glow behind a drift of cloud, guessed at more than seen. And every one of those moons was loved, not the full one alone. All of them, the slender one and the swollen one and the half-dissolved one behind the clouds. Because the people who watched it understood that the changing was the moon, that there was never a single true moon being interrupted by its phases. The phases were the thing itself. The moon was the changing. You are like that. You were never one fixed self being interrupted by change. The changing is you, the child you were, the person you are tonight, the one you will be. Not a thing broken into pieces, but a single slow turning, like the moon across its month, like the year across its seasons, like the snow across the night. Nothing about you has to hold still to be whole. You are allowed to be a thing that moves. So let yourself move now, toward sleep. There is no edge to brace against, only the turning, carrying you, the way it carries the moon and the snow and the season, gently, without effort, exactly as it should. The light at the window is very soft now. The snow is still falling, slower or perhaps only slower in your watching. The branches are nearly white. The room around you is warm and dim and still, and the day is gone, fully gone, fallen past the light with all its weight, and you are not holding anything anymore. Nothing stays, and tonight you know, in your loosening body, that this was never the hard truth you may once have feared. Nothing stays, which means the tiredness will not stay, and the worry will not stay, and the heaviness behind your eyes will not stay either. It is already passing, already drifting down and out of the light. Everything that troubled the day is, even now, on its way somewhere else, the way everything always is. You can let it. There is only this, the warmth, the breath, arriving and leaving, the snow arriving and leaving, the quiet circle of light and the soft dark all around it, and you, held inside the gentlest truth this country ever learned. That things are beautiful because they pass, and that you are passing softly into sleep, and that this is not loss. This is only the night doing what the night does. Let your eyes close, if they are not closed already. Let the window fade. Let the snow keep falling without you watching. It does not need you now. It will fall all night, gently, in the dark, the way it always has, the way it always will, each flake arriving once and letting go. Let go with it. Rest now. Good night.